Hi, I am Jasonhoblin, and this is a presentation on the thought symbol. First, I will define the terms of thought and symbols for the context of this content. Then, I will give a brief history of how the thought symbol was originated and a detailed description of how it's drawn. I will also display my subjective interpretations of the thought symbol, followed by a prospective application. Lastly, I will explain how I am using the thought symbol. Thought itself has been a core concept since the beginning of recorded history. The foundations for almost every aspect of humanity and the evolution of the human mind is defined within thought. The Oxford Dictionary defines thought as an idea or opinion produced by thinking, while dictionary.com says thought is the product of mental activity, that which one thinks, and to have or formulate in the mind. The philosophical and esoteric venture on the origin and nature of thought is an entire discipline of its own. Suffice to say, I'll surmise a few comments on the matter. Thought is a single perception having a value, while the processing of that experience is called thinking. Thoughts include absolute concepts, data and memories, as well as emotions, feelings, and associations. Thoughts occur at varying levels of awareness. States of mind affect thought, but differ from the thought itself. Thoughts are wholly pervasive, persisting throughout the universe with respective degrees of complexity. The thought of thinking about thought can be dismissed as rhetorical and recursive. A symbol is defined as something that, by association, represents something else. Generally, a symbol is a simple graphic used to illustrate a concept or message. Symbols permeate almost every aspect of the human experience. Some symbols are self-explanatory and universally understood, while others are cultural and regionally significant. Some drawings are mistaken for symbols. Whereas the object may be symbolic, the picture of an object is not a symbol. Symbols have clear, quantitative values or represent a function as used in the fields of science and technology. Symbols can also be varying and interpretive, as in the realm of myth or religion. Every day, people perceive and interpret countless symbols, consciously and unconsciously, some literal and some subjective. To date, I have found no definitive symbol to embody thought. There are words for thought, but no single character. The only non-literal image is a balloon or cloud-like bubble that contains thoughts rather than imply thought itself. Therefore, by the preceding definition of thought and symbols, I initiate the thought symbol as a graphical representation of perception and experience. The thought symbol was invented, as most things, out of necessity. Circa the summer of 1999, I was writing in the condensation on the shower door. I needed to write the word thought, but ran out of room. I used a cursive lowercase t as a placeholder, and from then on I began using that symbol for thought. The earliest record I have in which I clearly use the thought symbol is a computer file of a scanned document. The computer file shows a last modified date of August 16, 1999. After using a hand-drawn version for several years, I discovered the parts of the thought symbol can be created with mathematical equations. Finally, in November 2006, I used existing images and a drawing program to create the current version of the thought symbol. The thought symbol is a drawing consisting of two lines and a dot. The first line starts at the bottom left and curves towards the upper right on a parabolic scale to the right center of the drawing. When the line reaches a vertical 90 degrees, it makes an upper arc half circle back towards the upper left center of the drawing. The line then curves downwards towards the bottom right of the drawing on a parabolic scale, crossing over itself in the middle of the drawing and mirroring the beginning of the line. The first line can be described as a simple loop. The second line starts in the left in the middle of the drawing and curves horizontally in an upper arc half circle to the intersection point of the first line. The line then continues horizontally in a lower arc half circle to the middle of the right side of the drawing. The second line is a standard sinusoidal wave crossing in the middle of the drawing and rotated counterclockwise at a 24-degree angle. The dot is placed in the upper right corner of the drawing at a height at the top of the first line loop and at a 53-degree angle to the center intersection of the first and second lines. All three parts of the thought symbol can be described mathematically. The loop is expressed as y squared equals x squared times x plus 3, or y squared equals x cubed plus 3x squared. The sine wave is expressed as y equals sine x. The dot is simply plotted as xy. Whereas the thought symbol may have a measurable value, there are many symbolic and interpretive meanings that I associate with the thought symbol. In the loop, I see the spectrum of awareness ribbons, a vertical Jesus fish, an evolved fish, I see a parabolic curve and exponential growth, the ellipse of planetary orbits, and the pinnacle of a water splash. In the wave, I see a sine wave on an oscilloscope, a range of musical vibrations. I see an ocean wave, the yin-yang, a Mobius strip, and infinity. In the dot, I see the pupil of my eye, the moon, the earth, the sun, a spiral galaxy, a black hole, a singularity, a point, a period. I see constants like pi or e, variables like x, y, or frequency, a number like 216, the answer or the question, something and nothing, anything and everything, even the thought of thought itself. In the whole thing, I see the Eye of Ra, the Freemasons, the all-seeing eye over a pyramid, the Great Seal of the United States of America. I see the zodiac Leo, a Celtic ankh, a Christian cross, a Muslim moon and star, the atheist symbol, peace symbol, and the wall hammers. Psi, stick man, Vitruvian man, skull and crossbones, the fractal Buddha, and someone playing dodgeball, even the flux capacitor. To reiterate, the preceding images are my interpretive associations of the thought symbol. The thought symbol represents any and all thoughts, not simply the ones resembling its illustration. There are many symbolic references with the thought symbol. However, the thought symbol is intended to have a practical application. The thought symbol was designed to be used as a shorthand character for the word or concept of thought. Regardless of whether the value of thought is absolute, a variable, or transcendental, it is definitely quantifiable. In my extraordinarily simplified understanding of cosmology and theoretical physics, I have not found any component in the equations to represent an observer. My presupposition for any grand unified theory of everything is to objectify the subjective thought of the equation. A wholly complete equation must also encompass a representation of itself. The ultimate purpose of the thought symbol is the quantified value of thought for use in equations requiring an expression of being. Meanwhile, for a more readily practical application, I gratuitously use the thought symbol as my personal avatar. On instant messaging services, in forums and bulletin boards, on videos, on my website, and as my email signature. The thought symbol is also a registered trademark of my business. The purpose of the preceding content was to explain the thought symbol. I defined the applicable terms of thought and symbols and summarized its history. The design of the thought symbol was detailed along with several symbolic impressions. The purpose of the thought symbol was asserted as a graphical representation of thought for use in physical expressions. Finally, I stated my peripheral use of the thought symbol. All this information can be found at thoughtsymbol.com. This concludes this presentation of the thought symbol.